2020 is a big deal. It is the start of a new decade, and with new beginnings, you want to have new beginnings. And for this one, I've been subscribed to Mubi, the streaming service, for a long time now. And for those who don't know what Mubi is, I find that highly unlikely because you probably watch a lot of movie-related stuff on YouTube, and everybody seems to be sponsored by Mubi. I'm not sponsored. I'm also out of breath. Mubi is a streaming service where every day, they put up a new movie and then also take down one movie. So there's 30 movies on the service at any given time. And so every day marks a new film and one less chance to watch another. And I've been very bad about keeping up with Mubi because I always put it off. I'm always like, oh, well, that seems interesting, but I'll watch it, a little later. And then time goes by, and then I was like, oh, fuck, I forgot to watch, Time to Die or whatever. And then, oh, it's going to be gone tomorrow, and I don't have any time to watch it. And then I don't watch it. I have to wait however long until I can find it again, even unless I forget about it, because there's a lot of movies out there. And I want to try this year to actually watch everything that Mubi puts out. And I like challenges. I rarely succeed at them, but I do like them. And so this year, my challenge to myself is to watch every single film presented by Mubi. And I've already started. It is, of course, the 2nd of January right now. And yesterday I watched one film, and today I watched another, both of them being the movies that were presented on that day by Mubi. There's a few that are in the back catalog that I would like to watch. I'm not sure I'll actually be able to do that because I do want to get this challenge going. And another big problem I had while trying to watch movies on Mubi would be, I definitely want to watch, this, and this. So I can't bother watching this latest movie, and what ends up happening is I don't watch any of them. So with that being said, long story short, I'm going to try vlogging this entire journey into Mubi, and we'll see if it works. I'll also be making notes and keeping a list on my Letterboxd account. That's linked in the description for this video. I also have a Patreon account. I'm not going to get too much into this just yet, but I might be making this a patron series. I don't actually have any patrons right now, but the idea being that when I finally do end up getting patrons, there'll be a bunch of content kind of backlogged on the Patreon account. I don't know if that'll actually happen, but we'll see. So moving on, let's talk about what we got. I got my little book of notes because I'm a hipster. I write things like a hipster person. So first up is Stark Fear. This is a film that came out in 1962, starring Beverly Garland and I already forgot his fucking name. Starring Beverly Garland, Skip Homeyer, and Kenneth Tobey. I'm awful with names. This is something you're going to find out if you watch these videos. They're not really scripted. It's just me going off notes. I'm terrible at actors' names. I don't know why. I think it's just because I got a dumb brain. So anyway, so Skip Homeyer, Beverly Garland, and Kenneth Tobey. All-star. They're pretty much the only real stars in this movie. So it's a regional Arkansas production. I love regional movies, and all that really means is they are not Hollywood movies. They're not made, or New York. They're not big movie city movies. They're not Hollywood movies. They're not New York City movies. Not even necessarily Atlanta movies, depending on what time period. They're movies made in very specific regions that aren't usually home to filmmaking endeavors, and are often sort of exploitation or cultish films. And this is definitely an exploitation movie. I've seen a lot of people refer to this as a noir film. Technically, it is a black and white crime film. Technically it's noir, but it really is more of a melodrama, a very exploitative melodrama. The film was restored by NWR, which is Nicholas Winding Refn's company. I don't know that he makes any money off of this. I know that the Buy NWR website is free. I guess maybe the ones that are shown on Mubi and like on Amazon and stuff make money for them. I'm not sure how that works. So the restoration is amazing. I haven't seen any footage of the movie from previous releases, but from the stills I saw, it looks like it didn't look very good. This is a beautiful restoration. This is the kind of restoration you see for like an actual classic black and white film from this era, and it's gorgeous. It is not an expertly made film. The movie was directed by Ned Hockman, partially. Ned Hockman was this guy who did a lot of training films for the military back in the I guess 40s, 50s, 60s. He worked under Ronald Reagan of all people at one point, and this was his one and only directorial effort in features. uh, I don't know how good of a director he was because he quit the film due to whatever conflicts that were happening, and Skip Homeyer took over, and yeah, it's a jumbled mess of a movie. It looks really great in spots, and then in other places it's very conventional and lame, and it's a lot of weird things. Probably the best shot in the film takes place at a cemetery, and it's a very, very disturbing moment in the film. It's one of those things that you actually don't expect from films of this time period. You expect this sort of thing, maybe later in the 60s, but in 1962 it's a bit iffy. The shot is tilting up across this tombstone to someone looking on at what's happening, and the shot itself is fantastic. It's a great, haunting shot, but the tombstone is very obviously fake. We're talking like Plan 9 from Outer Space level fake, and it's very distracting. And things like that happen a lot. It's like these really cool things are happening, these really cool shots are being shown, and then you realize, like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense that it looks like they're going through the back alleys of like New York or something, but they're in this tiny Arkansas town of like 1,000 people. A lot of weird stuff like that. So it's a kind of inexplicable film. I saw someone compare it to Ed Wood. I wouldn't put it that far. It's not that bad. It's definitely a somewhat amateur production, at least by the standards of that day. By our standards of now, it's fine. It's just a '60s movie. But for the time, it's pretty low end. That said, it does prove my theory pretty accurate that any film from that time period, once you give it a good restoration, is pretty dope. Like, most movies from that period just look cool by virtue of how they were shot, and once you get past the kind of gross transfers, it's fun to look at. Beverly Garland, I had never even heard of Beverly Garland before. Maybe I had and I just forgot. She was in Not of This Earth and The Alligator People. She was a big TV actress. She was in like everything. If you look at her IMDb page, it's jam-packed. She was not often the lead. When she was the lead in a film, it was usually some like B-grade Roger Corman sci-fi movie like Not of This Earth, which I was actually going to watch as a double feature with this, and then I couldn't find a good copy of it. Everything I found was disgusting to look at and very distracting. And I feel like there might be a good restoration of that, but overall, this has all the great hallmarks of a fun, campy exploitation movie. It's kind of, I would say, like Mommy Dearest level. It's kind of like Mommy Dearest, where there's a lot of like really good professional qualities to it. Beverly Garland, as I said, is... I actually don't know if I said this. She's amazing. Beverly Garland is phenomenal in this movie, and I want to see more of her because of how much of a great assured performance she puts in. Apparently this was her least favorite of her movies. I don't know her other work that well, so I can't say one way or the other on that one, but as far as her performance, stellar knockout stuff. I cannot wait to look more into her. I'm sure I've seen her before, and I'm just not remembering her name, but goddamn, she is a great leading lady, and it's too bad that she didn't show up in more kind of A-level stuff. The music is awful. I hate the music's terrible. It does not fit with the film. And the film also, it has a great line in it, which I'm just going to read off. There ain't no such thing as rape. Ask any cop. Beautiful. It's, again, not a great film by, like, I guess as close to objective standards as you can get, but really fun to watch. A little long, probably could have taken like 20 minutes off and it would have been a lot better, but definitely worth watching. And that's available until, I guess, January 30th, so check it out. Also, Kenneth Tobey. You might know him as the main guy in The Thing from Another World. He's great. He is basically a love interest for Beverly Garland, and I don't know what their age gap is, but he looks like he is 40 years older than her. It's really funny. Anyway, moving on. The other movie I saw was The Return. This was from 2003. It was the winner of the Grand Jury Prize at Cannes that year. And it's a Russian film. The director is Andrei Ziginstev? I don't know how to say Russian names. He directed Leviathan, and then, he had another movie come out just a couple years ago that was really big, and I don't remember the name. Anyway, he directed Leviathan. Most people have seen Leviathan. So, yeah, it starts with this group of kids who are jumping off a big tower thing into the water, and there's the little brother and the big brother and then his friends. And the big brother says that little brother is going to be called a cowardly pig if he doesn't jump off the big thingamabob. And the kid doesn't do it, and he's really upsetting. It's called a cowardly pig. And shortly after that, you get a scene where the brothers are talking, and the older brother's friends and him are playing soccer in this abandoned building of some sort, and it's the most Russian thing I've ever seen in my life. From there, it goes into the story of these kids' father returning after 12 years of being somewhere, and they go on a trip with their dad, and it is absolutely tragic. It's a story about growing up, about becoming a man, about fatherhood from the perspective of a young boy, about masculinity. It's things you've seen in a movie before, but done in a very expert way. This was Andrei first film, and what a fucking knockout. Like, no wonder it won the Grand Jury Prize. This was quality stuff. And I really, I was taken aback by it. It's very simple. It's not a complicated story. I saw Roger Ebert gave it 2.5 stars and seemed a little perplexed by it. I'm not sure why. I guess he wanted a lot more answers than the film was looking to provide, but it's not really a film meant to provide answers, if that makes any sense. It provides the answers that you need, but there's a lot of questions that are brought up that are never answered because they're not really the point of the film. And if you're bothered by that, if you're one of those people that can't deal with movies not giving you everything on a silver platter or allowing things to, be left to the imagination, then you're gonna fucking hate this movie. But if you're okay with that, if you love movies that have a central theme and they play on that theme and they provide you with emotional resonance near the end, then awesome. What I found most fascinating here was that I felt what the director was trying to put across, but it wasn't until the very last image, literally the last image of the movie, that I actually felt like a real emotional ping in my gut. That thing that just tells you, fuck, man, they were saying something there. And it might be, I have my own father issues. I never really knew my dad. And so, the story of these kids really meeting their dad properly for the first time. One was a baby when he left. The other one was, I think he's supposed to have been like maybe 3 or 4 when he left. It's very striking emotionally. The other thing that makes it very interesting, the kids, let's see, they're Andre and Ivan. Ivan's the younger one. So the kid who played Andre, and I did not write down his name because I suck and I'm awful, but the kid who played Andre, the older brother, he died shortly before the film premiered. It was in 2003 that he died, so I don't know what the timeline was, but he died before it premiered at Cannes and won the big prize. And he died from drowning, and what I read, and this is just, I read one thing, I've not actually read that much into this movie, but he died because his friends dared him to jump off the same structure that he dives off in the movie, and drowned, and that's really depressing to think about. And it's, kid dying young, kid dying, already he's young, but a kid dying is already super sad and super fucked up. The fact that he died as a direct result, in a way, of this film, because they're asking him to do this thing that he did in the movie, super depressing. But then, and it shouldn't be this way, but the fact that he was so talented, the director specifically looked for kids, like the most talented actors he could find to play these kids, and both of them do such an amazing job. It's really like staggeringly good. And the fact that this kid died so young, like it's heartbreaking. I mean, this is a kid who would have had an amazing career ahead of him. You know, would have probably made a pretty good life for himself, more likely than not, and just snuffed out because just how life is. Sometimes just fucking die. And you know, that's a lot. That's heavy, man. That's pretty heavy. So the film, it carries a lot of weight because it's heavy. Levity. And has a very, I don't know that the ending is shocking, just because there's only so many ways that this story can go. And when it happens, it is sort of a like, oh, yep, that makes sense. But it's definitely tragic, and it definitely will probably leave you a little shook. But it's highly recommended. I love this movie, and I can't wait to look at more of the director's work. The director whose name I can definitely pronounce. The last thing, this is a very minor quibble. I wasn't a big fan of the look of the film in general. It's got a very blue tint to it, and at first I thought maybe it was the color grade, but it's always hard to tell with movies from this period. Also, the encode's a little weird on this film. I think the source that they're using for the version on Mubi was from like an old DVD copy maybe, and so it looks a little off, looks a little video-y at times. Not distractingly so, but if you like pay really close attention, it's a little off. It might have also partly been my internet connection. I don't know. I don't think it was that bad, but who knows? Maybe that had something to do with it. Either which way, the blue look on the film, I think, is because they on IMDb. I looked this up, and it said it was codec EXR 100T 5248. So the 100T is the important thing there. If you don't know how film stock works, it's basically how sensitive film is. So it's like the size of the grains and how they expose to light. But that doesn't matter. The T is what really matters. The T stands for tungsten. So film stock, it either comes in daylight or tungsten. And this film, which was shot primarily outside, was using, according to IMDb, tungsten film. And if that was the only film stock they were using, then that accounts for the blue look. I know this was a very cheap film. Apparently it cost way less than $500,000 according to the director. So I guess they were using tungsten film that was, what they could afford, or maybe it was just a stylistic choice. It was all very blue. So actually, thinking about it now, because this is just me like thinking out loud, I'm assuming the director wanted a very blue look, and so he shot with tungsten film. And I don't know, it's certainly a style, and I understand there's a lot of water imagery, and it is a kind of tonally kind of blue film. I don't know, the look didn't work as much for me as it probably should have. Minor quibble, very minor quibble. The point is, all this ranting, you should watch this movie. You should watch both these movies. They're both very much worthwhile. If you had to choose one, watch The Return. But if you have already seen The Return and you haven't seen Stark Fear, check it out. If you don't like, B movies or exploitation pictures, then it might not be for you. But I think it's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's it. Check me out on the Twitters, like, subscribe, all that jazz. Look on my Letterboxd account for the full lists and junk. And yeah, hopefully I'll be talking at your face again soon. Oh, sitting on my legs. Bad idea. Bad idea to sit on my legs. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck.